Hello, my viewers. This is the question for GCE 2022. We're going to look at question number 3. Okay, electrical question. Say ammeter is actually on it. Then resistance, have our battery and our key all on it. Okay, so this is electrical question number 3. So we're going to look at the question itself. Say the circuit diagram above illustrates a setup to determine the internal resistance of a cell EMF 1.5. The cell is connected with ammeter A and a resistance box R, and the key K is in series with the resistance box set at R and the key closed. The current I in the circuit is read and recorded. Okay, so the procedure is repeated for 5 other values of R, and each case the corresponding value of I are recorded. Figure 3a and figure 3b on page 12 shows R and I respectively, where I's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a read and record R and the corresponding I. Okay, this is electrical question. So we're going to see the continuation of the question. Okay, let's continue. So you just have to understand that in this particular question, we're actually looking for R and what I, okay, which will be given to us in form of a diagram. Then we'll read the diagram and get the corresponding values of what I and R. Then continuation says evaluate P, which is equals to E over R I. In each case, then you tabulate your reading. Plot a graph of P on the vertical axis and R on the horizontal, okay, axis, starting both axes from the origin. Then determine the slope S of the graph and intercept C on the vertical axis. Then state 2 precautions you would have taken if you were to perform this experiment in a lab. Okay, so that's the question. Okay, I say explain the term internal resistance of what is cell. Okay, these are all the questions that has to come with that has to do with number 3. Okay, then remember that when tabulating your reading should go in line with what they say you should plot in the graph. Your table should meet what they want you to plot in the graph. So there should be P in your graph, there should be I in your graph, and there should be what R in your table, not your graph. Now I said here that it should explain internal resistance. A cell has an EMF of 3 volts when it is connected. This is an additional question they usually add for you to solve, and this question is very easy to solve. Okay, I will show you how it is solved, and you actually read it and understand it. Okay, now this is the diagram I'm talking about. Alternative to practical comes what a diagram. The diagram help you to do what, to get your reading. Now the R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5 and R6 are there. The R1, as you look at it, it does not have any resistance because all the circuits actually what have a plug inserted on it, then which means that R1 is 0. R2 has only 1 ohms. Okay, R3 is the only one that is open, is 2 ohms. You can see it, the one that is not shaded. Then R4 is having 1 ohms not shaded, or 2 ohms not shaded, so total of 3 ohms. Then R4 has 2 ohms not shaded, 2 ohms not shaded, total of 4 ohms. Then an R6 has only 5 ohms not shaded. So the one that is not shaded is actually the resistance they are talking about in ohms. Okay, because that one indicate that the plug actually was not actually inserted in it. Okay, so the unshaded portion plugs are what, they are not inserted on it. Okay, so that is it. So we're going to look at the questions, okay, that has to do with other ones. Okay, this is the how it is actually read. So we're going to read also the current. Let's look at the current, the ammeter reading, the current, the various ammeter reading. So if you look at the ammeter reading here, we see that the I, which is pointing at 3, so have 3.0 ampere. Then the II, which that's the current 2, which is I2, is pointing at 1, which is so that I2 is equals to 1 ampere. Then I3 is pointing at between 0.5 and 0.6. After 5 have 6 there because the calibration is up to 10, okay, before the 1, so that's 0.6 ampere. I4 is pointing at between 5 and 4, so 0.45 ampere. These are actually the reading there. You can see it's the 3 ohms, the 0.0, 1.0, 1.0, 0.6, like we said, 2.0, then 0.45, 3.0, and so on and so forth. So that is how to read it. So make sure you read it and avoid error due to what parallax in taking your word in your reading. That's one of the precaution. Okay, so while you taking the reading from your book, okay, exam question, make sure you look at it very well before you take the reading, so that you not make mistake in your in your reading. This is the table has I, R, P, and what. So the E is 1.5 volts. Okay, the P is now E over I, which means our I here is 3.0. So have 1.5 over 3.0, that will give us 0.500. And remind you, the I and R can be one decimal, but P should be two decimal places, or otherwise three decimal places, to avoid problem. Okay, then the E is constantly given 1.5 volts. Okay, and the corresponding value of P won't be varying according to what the varying current. 1.0, okay, 1.5 divided by 1.0 according to number 2, which will give us 1.50. Then 1.5 over 0.6 for number 3, it will give us 2.5, and so on and so forth. That's how to get. So if you look at the diagram here again, you realize what I've said so far. The R1 is 0, R2 is 1, R3 is 2 ohms. Okay, the same way I1 is 3 pointing at 3, I2 is actually pointing at 1. So the where it is pointing is where you need to do or to take the reading, and that is all that I have to do. Then after the reading, take your graph.